On the next episode of Fathers Who Bother, I catch up with comedian and producer Roy Wood Jr. to talk about raising his son, his father figure stand-up special, the connection between his own dad and Don Cornelius, and much more. Check it out. Welcome to Fathers Who Bother, a podcast for men who are dad as we want to be. My next guest is a proud native of Alabama and one of the funniest men in show business today. You've seen him on Comedy Central's The Daily Show with Trevor Noah and the popular podcast Roy's Job Fair and Beyond the Scenes. As an executive producer, his credits include the PBS documentary The Neutral Ground, an HBO Max project 1% Happy, and an untitled medical field comedy for NBC. His hilarious stand-up specials include 2017's Father Figure, Roy Wood Jr., No One Loves You, and his new Imperfect Messenger premiering on Comedy Central. But today we are going to talk about his role as father. Please welcome Roy Wood Jr. to the podcast.
How you doing, brother?
Yo, what up, what up, what up?
This has been something I've been looking forward to. This kicks off the third season of this podcast, and I follow you on Twitter, and your tweets about your son make my day. Just make my day. The 4-year-old did this, the 4-year-old. So I start every interview with this question. When did you first find out that you were going to be a dad?
She called me like 2:00 in the morning. It was late. I knew something was up because she was calling me and talking normal at 2 in the morning. Don't nobody. First off, you never call me at 2 in the morning. Secondly, why are you calling me and making small talk at 2 in the morning? Get to the shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it was one of them conversations like, I'm tired, dog. Like, I love you. Like, don't get me wrong. It wasn't like no drama, but it's just like, if you never call somebody at 2 in the morning, you call them at 2 in the morning, there is a purpose for calling them at 2 in the morning.
Right.
And it's one of them, what are you beating around the bush? And you know the vibes. Like, it's not bad news, but there's something up. It was one of those things. And so,
what did you say? What was your response?
It's just like, all right, I guess we're doing this. And then, like, what else am I supposed to say? Like it's wouldn't be like one of these fertility commercials where, yes.
For some brothers, it's like Usher, put that on everything. Word, remember?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do a cane like menace to society. You lying. I had the Jimmy on extra tight. Such a hilarious line from a movie.
Yes.
But no, it was the conversation was basically, all right, well, what do you need in the short term? What can I do? Like, because at the time we were bi-coastal, dog. I had just gotten hired at the Daily Show. And so this whole let's move to New York together thing was, these motherfuckers still might fire me. It's only been a couple months.
Okay.
Let's see how Daily Show starts unfolding. And then we'll figure out, then we'll pick a coast. If that's the simplest way of saying it. And so, he was born middle of 2016, right as Trump is starting to rise. And, my son couldn't have come at a better and more inconvenient time at the same time. Because it drove my creativity. Like, I cannot explain it to non-parents. But dog, when you have a kid, bro, like, there is another level that your brain partitions open. Like, he has a child. Release the motivating juices in your, like, whatever's in them glands inside your head. When you have a kid, them glands go and give you some extra juice. Get your shit together, juice. And so a switch flipped, and I've done more in the 5 years, I guess 6 if you want to count the pregnancy, than this is the most productive 6-year stretch of my career at any point. It's incomparable. I've done more in 6 years than I did in the previous 10 to 15.
So how have you balanced all that increased productivity with being a dad?
And sometimes you don't. I've always felt good partner, good father, good worker. Every day you get to pick two of those.
That's
good
fact.
partner, good father, good partner, good parent, good worker, a good employee. Pick two. And just mix it up. That's really all I know to do. I don't believe that there is balance. I think there is oscillation.
Mm-hmm. Keeping
You
your
know,
rotation. I realize that a lot, especially during the pandemic and quarantining, when everything kind of meshed together. You're working from home, the kids are home with you, and then in my case, I'm home with my wife too. So us trying to not get on each other's nerves while trying to work, while trying to look after the kids, making sure they're not going crazy. Yeah, it was definitely 2 out of the 3. If we made it, if we got some work done and we took care of the kids, then we probably didn't even speak that day.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I'm starting to learn. I'm learning now how to steal moments.
Mm.
All right, I know I can't play with him all afternoon, right? Because I gotta go and run and do this whatever the hell thing for an hour.
Mhm.
Then I figured out, oh, he's old enough now. I can just fucking take him with me. And I'll budget an extra 20 minutes so we can ride the bus instead of taking a cab. Because he likes the bus. So it also gives me an opportunity to like help teach him the bus system or the trains and learning how to read the signage. Like I'm obsessed with preparing my son for being lost without any parental guidance. You know, you need to learn phone numbers. You need to learn which bus comes by which street. You need to learn which street that bus runs on. And he's only 5, so maybe it's too much too soon. But you know, whatever he's interested in learning, I'm going to teach him. So, you know, you figure out things like that, and then it helps me put in retrospect a lot of my father bringing me around a lot of the stuff that he was doing at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that stuff will help inform decisions that he makes when he's, you know, in his 20s or whatever.
No, I agree 100%. My dad used to take me to work with him. He worked for Citibank for 20 years, and we were living in Queens, and it was like an hour ride into the city. And I just remember it being dark outside when we left the house. I had never been up that early in my life, but going to work with going to work with him was one of those memories I'll never forget. How did he adjust to being around your workspace? Was he typical kid, or was he just like just sitting back observing?
um, he's curious. He's very observant, especially if there's cameras or equipment around. He definitely enjoys taking photographs. You know, I did this one thing. I could have done more of them, but I wasn't sure of the whole exploit my kid online thing. If I wanted to open that can, but you can find it on YouTube. It's called Parental Post Game. And what it is, it's me pretending to be a father as if I'm the coach, the head coach of the family. And my son being the reporter asking me questions about my abilities as a dad. And that came from him watching me do podcasts over the pandemic and him understanding the concept of this microphone is attached to something and it sends sound into a computer that you can hear later. So the idea of recording himself and hearing his voice fascinates him. So one day I'm just cleaning up the room and he just straight comes over with the microphone and just goes, "What's your favorite color?" I go, "What?" And he's like interviewing me about colors and foods. And I don't know. It made me laugh. I thought it was something that, you know, for where we were at the pandemic at the time, where every parent being cooped up and homeschooling and trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do, it made me laugh. So I figured I would share it with people. It's not a lot of stuff that makes me laugh, but when it does, I try to share it.
You had your special father figure and you had your son there backstage at the start. Talk to me about the inspiration for kind of dedicating that particular special to him.
There are going to be a lot of different, like, I think there will be enough people in my son's life where he'll be able to piece together who I was, right? There'll be enough people he can talk to and go, your daddy did this, and then sometimes he liked whiskey, but he was always nice. And like, people will cover that. But how I see the world, you know, that special is an opportunity to help. Educate's not the word, but it's an opportunity to give him a visual into how I see the world so that it may better inform how he views certain things. And I know a lot of it is silly, nonsensical stuff, but there's a few things in there that are kind of heavy and perspective based that, you know, here's something to consider as you go forward on this particular topic. You know, so that's all it was. It was just more of a, you know, that special's for him, but not until he's like late 20s will he be able to go back and watch that and really piece it together.
Right. So what's been your favorite part of being a dad so far?
Watching him learn and rediscover things. That I get to rediscover things through his eyes. You know, riding bikes and counting and working on puzzles together, just any general bonding type shit. I really do appreciate that, you know, because that's something I didn't get often growing up because my parents were so busy. You know, you like I think your job as a parent is to do better than what your parents did.
Absolutely.
And that's not knocking anyone's past parents or the generation before, your ancestors, blah, blah, blah. But that's progress. That's what progress looks like, is to have the ability to do more than what your parents did. You know, my mom was working one job and working on master degrees and law degrees and all of these extra, you know, secondary educations because that would mean stability for the family. And the same with my father. So, you know, some moments were missed here and there, but in the spirit of providing. It wasn't neglect. It was just a different type of providing. And so to be able to be in a position sometimes where I can just sit and slow down and just, like, I'm in his room right now. I can sit here and we can play number bingo or do the floor map puzzle of the United States. So he's slowly learning all the states. So, you know, we can do geography basically. So, you know, that's the type of stuff that I'm afforded now that I really do enjoy. It really is dope to be able to do things with him that I didn't have the opportunity to do with my parents.
For sure. You mentioned in one tweet that you were homeschooling. How did that go?
Oh, it's terrible, man. He was in pre-K. Anybody can homeschool pre-K. That's just the basics. Colors, numbers, you know, you can get cute and teach them how to tell time if you want, put them ahead of the curve, but no, for the most part, no.
Okay. Okay, because he said in the tweet there was the teacher asked what the weather is today, but half the class is in different cities. Now it's a gang of 4-year-olds arguing about whether or not it's raining. Teachers trying to mute them. So that sounds like quarantine teaching, like school.
Yeah. When you're teaching kids on Zoom and they're all in different time zones because the families have fled the city to go back home to wherever they are. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. They want no parts of. God bless the teachers, man. They'd be so stressed some days online.
You had another one. You said most kids want a dog or a hamster as their first pet. This boy done walked in here and asked for a Venus flytrap. You ain't about to have a big ass feed me seed more up in my house. Why a Venus flytrap?
Yeah, he's carnivorous plants. That's his joint. This is sundew plant. We might get him that. And it like wraps up bugs and stuff. Right? And it really is, like, for real, just on some, like, keep bugs out of your house or gnats and fruit flies.
Yeah.
It's not a bad investment. It's pest control. It really is pest control. I might get him one. I just don't know anything about plants, and I don't know the climatology of a sundew plant or a Venus or a pitcher. But what he really wants is a pitcher plant. And I'm like, nah, dog, we're not doing that.
The pitcher plant is the one where they kind of slide in and
Yeah, they slide down the side because it's got the slit. It's got the syrupy sides.
Yep.
And then you slide into the bottom, and it's all digestive acid, and it just melts the insects.
It's like inspiration for horror movies where you see.
Yes.
Yep. I'm familiar. There was another where he said he asked for an appetizer before breakfast. I don't know who's been putting these ideas in my child's head, but your child needs to shut the fuck up.
Yeah. It's literally, hey, I'm making breakfast. Well, what can I have in the meantime? Air. Would you like some air?
You can have a seat.
Yeah. That's what you can have, man. If you don't shut your butt up.
Is that his personality? He's very, I want this, I want that.
It's not want as much as it is, what can I get away with? Like, it's very much, oh, I see how to manipulate them now. Because he's already on that shit where if I say no, he know to go ask mama. But he also knows to wait until I leave the house. That's how I know these kids are smart, man. They the devil. He knows, he has the wherewithal to know, oh, like, can I have a granola bar? Nah. And then I'll leave, and I guess he think I'm gonna be gone for a long time, but I actually just went downstairs to grab something out the mailbox, and then I come right back in the house, he holding a granola bar. Won't hide it either, just straight grinning, like, yeah, look what mama gave me.
He's already pitting y'all the good cop, bad cop already?
Yes. Oh, he know I'm bad cop. Not only does he know I'm bad cop, he knows I relish in being bad. I love being bad cop.
Why do you love being bad cop?
Because somebody gotta get some discipline, and I don't have the tools to whip him. So that's been interesting, is learning, okay, what does discipline look like when it isn't the way I was disciplined? And figuring out punishment and figuring out the things that he likes and denying him those things and stuff like that. But he's also 5. He's still learning. So I can't treat him like a 19-year-old.
Right.
So, there still has to be balance and understanding that, that everything comes from a place of love and appreciation. I think for me, that's the main thing.
I think the key with disciplining my kids was that they had things I could take away, because I'm not a hitter. My wife and I were not really into that. But we found that we could take things away from them and it was effective. And I learned that once you've been giving your child some things and certain comforts, you can say, well, no Wi-Fi. Let me tell you, you cut off the Wi-Fi in this house, you will get everything done that you asked for.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The phone.
And so for him, the difficulty with my son is that because he's so creative and he's so imaginative, he's no different than me in this regard. You cannot bore him. As long as he has his mind, he will be entertained. So I could take all the main toys and he'll just start playing with the B-level toys and have as much fun as he would have with the toy that I took from him. So there's no lesson learned in that. So I got to start doing them the way my mama did me, where my mom would take everything but the books. So I would be on punishment for 2 weeks with no TV, no Nintendo. At the time, I had a Game Boy, I think. This was 91. She'd take my Walkman. That was the one that really used to hurt because she took my music. And when you couldn't listen to the radio every night, like when you couldn't listen to the Wicked 8 at 8 with Warm It Up Chris Coleman on 95.7, Win 107 in those days in Birmingham. That was huge because you would go to school the next day uninformed. You couldn't watch In Living Color. Oh, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah.
You know, like that stuff was canon in school. So, you know, you look at, how can I put it? Like my mom would take all of those things away from me, but leave me books. And much like my son, I cannot be bored. I will find something. So let me just read a book. And I just started reading encyclopedias. You know, I'm not as much of a treasure trove of random Jeopardy knowledge as I used to be. But in those days, bro, I would read an entire volume. I would just read the letter W for World Book Britannica.
Whoa. I used to like the encyclopedias too.
Page by page, I would just read the encyclopedia and I loved it. And she didn't mind, but she would keep me on punishment. And so I would just do that and I would just draw. Those are the two things I would do.
We had we had the white, was it the World Book Encyclopedia? With the white with the blue binding, and then you had the other one, the blue one, the kind of sky blue Britannica one with the gold
Britannica joint.
The two encyclopedias. That was Google before Google for us.
Yes, that was Wikipedia before Wikipedia.
Yes, absolutely. You had you said that you tried to get him to go to bed when you were watching Game of Thrones. What's your strategy for getting him to go to bed when you need him to go to bed?
He's pretty good about going down. Staying down is the issue. So he's at an age now where he pops up at 1 o'clock in the morning and say he saw a gremlin and I need you to close this door and angle the light precisely here, because if you don't, the shadow looks creepy because of this. So, you know, what you gonna do? And I also, you know, I had night terrors growing up. So that's one thing I am very, very empathetic with him on, is just the whole battle of learning to be courageous in the dark or just with a little nightlight. You know?
Yeah, the night lights have been a lifesaver. Well, my kids are older now, but they definitely helped. And I don't know, I'm trying to figure out if we stopped it or if they just decided they didn't need it anymore. So I think my daughter still leaves her on. She's 12. So I'm like,
yeah, I'm fine with it, man. I bought him one of them stupid solar system shits for the ceiling. They get you, they trick you into buying on Instagram. Got my ass and bought that. He was okay with it, but he didn't love it. He needs old school regular light.
You didn't help him go to sleep. He was just up.
But just in terms of helping him go to sleep, no, you know, we'll read a book. We try and slow it down that last hour before bedtime, you know, to like try and slow down the blood pressure. Get him, you know, get him dinnered up about 5:30. Get him bathed 6 or 6:30. Do a book or a little show or a puzzle or something to about 7:15. Then after that, all right, man, it's time to go on in there and lay down.
Yeah, as for the tweets, you had one more that I wanted, where you hit on something that I hadn't even realized. It was about fatherhood, daddy logic. You said the 4-year-old came out the bathroom trying to use the Purell instead of washing his hands, to which I yelled, "The sanitizer for outside germs." I have no clue what that means, but somehow we both understood, and he went and washed his hands.
Yeah, germs in the house are safe. Those are safe germs. You just a little soap knock out them domestic germs. When you start dealing, excuse me, but when you start dealing with these damn outside germs, oh baby, that's a whole nother level. You know, that hand sanitizer made them weak, because these kids start acting like, oh, well, I don't need to wash my hands no more. I'm like, nah, dog, no.
I got it though. I got what you meant. He said something else about and my 4-year-old was supposed to be napping. I barged in the room and said, I better hear you. I better hear you in here being quiet. While he was processing the logic.
It's like, I need to hear you shutting up. That's all I do. I'm just, it's so wild, man. We turn into our parents whether we like it or not.
Yes, which is why I wanted to talk about your father, Roy Wood Sr. What was your relationship like with him when you were a kid?
We were good, man. You know, he moved around a lot because he was a journalist, and we would, not that different from the Daily Show. We would kind of be like a year behind him, for the most part. It was, he was present. Like I didn't have one of them. I'm coming to all of your little league game ass daddies. My father's approach was more preparing me for the world and life and perseverance, and clapping for your son because he got a walk. My daddy ain't got time to be sitting outdoors for 2 hours clapping for 8th graders. Like that wasn't his thing. But he'd be there to pick me up from practice and stuff like that. I got a lot of wisdom from my father. The biggest takeaway I got from him was, you steal moments. Now that I'm older, I realize he stole a lot of moments. When I was 15 and I got my learner's permit, when I was 15 and got my learner's permit, he was doing a talk show at Alabama State, which is like an hour from Birmingham. So we would hop in the car every Saturday morning, and I was his driver to take him to Montgomery. He was tired. He didn't feel like driving. And I was excited because I get to drive on the freeway. Like, you're 15 and you're doing 70 miles an hour. Oh my God, you may as well be Fast and Furious. So,
yep.
But in those moments, that's 2 whole hours with your pops every week. That shit adds up. And so, I'm trying to do the same thing, 1 20-minute bus ride at a time.
That one of my last memories with my dad before he passed was driving with him to the doctor's appointments. And I didn't realize how rare it was for us to have one-on-one time until I did that. Because every time we got together, it was the whole family. Mom was there, my wife is there, the kids are there. But we hadn't had very many one-on-one conversations. So those drives were like our time to just talk. And it was,
Yeah, and we have those moments sometimes on the couch, my son and I, but it'll come as it's supposed to come, but my father definitely was an inspiration to a lot of people, helped a lot of people. I will say we're similar in that regard, and we do care about the streets. Our approaches to leaving the state of blackness better, we have the same North Star. We're just going different routes to get to the same point. I believe my father to be more poignant and more profound than me, but I'm for sure funnier than him. So maybe some of my stuff reaches people that his wouldn't have, and vice versa.
He ruined Airwolf for you?
Yeah, because he called it Knight Rider in the Sky. And I'm like, why would you? And when he said it, it was like just one of those realizations, like, damn, he's right. It's just a helicopter that just goes into super mode and defeats another vehicle in the sky. It's like, why?
But as you mentioned, your dad was really accomplished. He helped Don Cornelius with Soul Train early on.
Yeah, my father, going back to helping people, Don Cornelius used to be a police officer in Chicago. And Don, at the time, he pulled my father over for running a red light. My father thought that Don had a nice voice and gave him his card. He still got the ticket. Don still gave him a ticket. And my father ended up hiring Don Cornelius at WVON as a reporter. And that was one of the things that started getting Don Cornelius's toes into the media waters and ultimately into Soul Train, which my daddy could have been a producer on and an investor in, but he didn't think it was a good idea and told Don to give him his money back.
Wow.
Yeah, straight Facebook. Straight Facebook 1970s.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I wanted to touch on this upcoming special, Imperfect Messenger. Why that title?
I don't think anybody's the perfect person to say some things, but it doesn't mean that what they said doesn't need to be heard. You know, so this is just me admitting out the gate, probably not the right person to say these things, but I'm gonna say them. I'm going to share my thoughts, and you know that to me is, I think if we entered more conversations in society from that place of understanding that, then it would be conversation, like somebody will say something and then the discourse is why that person isn't qualified to say it, or why you shouldn't say it because you also did a thing. Well, everybody's done something that you're not going to approve of at some point for whatever reason. I'm a firefighter and I hate cops. Well, didn't you used to be a cop? Well, that's not the point. Let me tell you what's wrong with the cops. Yeah, but you used to be a cop, so shut up. Right. It's like, no, that doesn't mean that person doesn't have an idea or doesn't have anything, positive to contribute to a conversation. So that's why that title is it's just my open admission out the gate that, yeah, none of us are perfect, but we still are allowed to think things. Right. At least I hope we are.
Do you touch upon fatherhood in this upcoming special?
No, not really. I talk briefly about my son. I'm not sure if it's going to be in the long cut. I'm not sure if it'll be in the on-air cut on Comedy Central, but it'll for sure be in the long cut. About the time when my child was 4, he bit a child at school, but it was the same kid that bit him the year before. And now I'm scared because my son waited a year to bite someone, which means he understands the concept of revenge and plotting. And it makes me scared because now I'm second guessing everything I've ever done to him wrong because I might be in for a bite in another 4 or 5 years.
Oh, Reggie Conquest I interviewed him a while back, and he said that you had helped him out early in his career. How important is mentorship, in comedy for you?
I don't consider myself a mentor or anything like that. Like, you're young and you're talented, and I learn from young comedians. I learn more from the youngins than I do the old heads. The old heads act like they don't want to tell you shit, and you gotta pick it up off the ground when they'll drop a breadcrumb of knowledge, and you gotta ooh, thank you for that, sir. Where you hang with younger comedians, you remember why you got into it, and also they have approaches and perspectives on issues and to the business that you can sometimes adopt or learn. So I'm not up every day going, which comedian deserves guidance? I see Reggie all the time. Reggie's always hustling. Reggie's always, doing some things. Yeah, he deserves an at bat. I see the hustle. Here's a role I think he could do. Then on set, we did this sketch called what is it called? Snitch Cop. And so Reggie is in Snitch Cop, and there's a couple of jokes in Snitch Cop that Reggie pitched on the day that weren't in the script that ended up making it into the final edit of the show. So that, is like, okay, cool. And Reggie's, he's flying high now, and I know he's gonna get cast in a lot of stuff because he's got the funny black friend face. I told him that one time. You got a good black face. But no, I just enjoy collaborating. To me, I don't view it as mentorship. I view it as collaborating and working with other artists. And if you seem like you're doing something decent or you take the craft decently, if there's a way for us to work together, I'm gonna figure it out. I value more working with people at my level or below than I do advancing up. That would be nice, and that's cool, of course. I've had opportunities to work with some fucking legends, but you be on set with somebody like Reggie Conquest, and then you can connect two more dots to a joke, and then that's a look and an ideology and a script that could change how I write the next scene that I do. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of what I'm trying to kind of aim for when I'm working with, these younger comics.
Roy, thank you so much. Everybody go and check out Imperfect Messenger on Comedy Central, October 29th, with the amazing Roy Wood Jr. Thank you for coming to Fathers Who Bother and talking about raising your now. I've been following the tweets since he was 4, he's now 5, and I'm reading all the 6-year-old and 7-year-old tweets too.
Indeed.
Brother, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Hey, thank you, man. Have a good one.